in the small was okay. The other things was I like the new classifications that you outlined here. I think it gives a better understanding where our money is going and potential underfunding, so we can address that. Some points that jumped out from your report was that it's not a rainy day fund, and there's 4 purposes of the reserves and the reserve funds. Another point was that it's part of developing the 10-year capital budget, which is twice as long as we've been in the forward and before. You say that this policy is part of a strategic financial plan. So this fits in with operational review, investment of policy, and the asset management to make an overall financial plans that's going to be the best for the taxpayers of the township. And I picked up on the one staff recommendation, repaving gravel roads. I'm interested to see where that goes in the future, because as I said before, that's question went on to get. So no, this is great work here, and I look forward to finding out more ways you can get further reasons.
Any other questions, council, on this? I have one, Diane. In the policy itself, in Appendix A, some of the columns under target balance say balance sufficient to meet asset management. Some say balance sufficient to meet 10-year capital forecast. When I read it, I was thinking, why 10-year capital forecast? Why not just asset management? If it's 11 years, we still want to plan for it. And I wouldn't want to have something that inadvertently encourages us to only look 10 years, right? So like, am I reading that right? Should we say asset management instead of 10 years and not limit ourselves? And then if that's independent 9 years, then that's fine. But if it's 11, it's also fine.
You're correct. We should be incorporating the lifespan of the asset itself. So it should be just based on the asset management plan, so that it's always evolving as long as that asset is there. And that's correct. So we can change all that to be the asset management plan.
Anybody else? So I guess then, if we're going to change that wording, should I say as amended here, Karen? Yeah, thank you. With that, you guys need to second it. So, any other questions for Diane in this report? Let's see any. I have that moved by McCall, seconded by Mitchell, that council receive and file report 2022-132 from the Director of Finance, and the council enact reserve and reserve fund policy 500-07 as amended. Do you want to speak to that? I think it's fantastic. As you know, I'm a big fan of asset management planning, as Paul pointed out, with the 10-year capital budget. I mean, nothing wrong with your capital budget. And even started talking with some people at AMO in the last couple of days about the potential of multi-year budgeting and things like that, pulling ahead some of the things the staff have had to do quite rightly to say we're going to buy a fire truck, we're planning to buy it next year for 2-3 years from now, and we get a better deal now. Well, if you do multi-year budgeting, then to some extent staff have more flexibility to do those things, and this is in line with that kind of like long-term financing we should always be for. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And we're going to take a break again. We're good. Oh, we're good. Okay, so we're going to keep going. You're good. Then we're going to jump down, since Tony's been patiently waiting. We're going to jump. I'm actually fascinated by all of this, but we're going to move down to 9B under correspondence regarding direction, so that Tony can choose whether he wants to stay or go afterwards. Correspondence from the Center Trojans for the ice rental reduction for 2022-2023 season, and you all have that correspondence. So first thing is there any questions from council or staff on that correspondence? I do have a motion here to already once we cover questions. Not seeing any. Moved by Mitchell, seconded by Greg, that the letter from the Center Trojans be received and filed, And that a letter be sent to the Trojans informing them that A, policy 700-06 recreation waiver and reduction does not apply to ice rental. B, the Thamesford Trojans are eligible to apply for the township for a community grant under policy 500-06, and that if the Trojans apply for a community grant, staff prepare a report on financial support given to other teams in the YEC division of PJHL by their municipalities. Paul, as the mover, you want to speak to that?
Yes, I wasn't quite sure based on the letter what Trojans wanted us to do, because they didn't tell us how much they were paying for ice. They didn't tell us how much they wanted a reduction. And they gave us no information about their financial decision, whether what impact the reduction would have on their ability to operate in coming season. So that I rechecked the policy that's referred to under fee waivers and reduction. It specifically does not include ice rental. But I also looked in these policy, there's the grant policy, and there's 5 criteria which I believe the Trojans qualify for. And if they wish to apply for this grant, they can go online and get the policy and find out what's required. They can talk to our staff and get their guidance. And if they want to make an application, and we can consider what level of support we can give to the Trojans. And the last part is there, if the Trojans do apply for this grant, then I would like to know what other municipalities that have teams that like play against the Trojans do, as far as financially supporting those teams. We want to see the Trojans at a financial disadvantage. We didn't provide some support relative to the other municipalities. This is the other option that they have to help them out financially, and that's why I'm not suggesting that's the way to go.
Katie, the secretary, you want to speak to that?
We have in this town council developed quite a few policies to help address a more consistent approach to individual requests that come forward to staff and then to council. And so I appreciate the work that Paul's done in looking at our existing policies to see how this request can fit in. So while the specific request, the policy doesn't have for rate reduction doesn't apply. I do believe that the grant application for community groups very much could apply and have the net result for the Trojans could be the same as what they're asking for, just with a slightly different approach in terms of where what amount of funds is shuffling in what direction. And I also agree with Paul that we don't want the community runs the Trojans. And we want to be able to continue coming out and watching the games and supporting and growing that viewership. And we don't want our team at a financial disadvantage in relation to the other teams that are playing the same kind of hockey. So if we can get some information back from our staff on sort of what is standard within that relationship between the municipalities and their teams, I think that would benefit us in figuring out what the appropriate decision is for Zorra. And absolutely, I know from having been a community group organizer in the past that our staff are excellent to work with. If you are applying for these funds, if you have any questions at all, that staff can absolutely assist in that process.
Anybody else want to speak to this? I will read the motion again, call the question. Moved by Mitchell, seconded by Greg, that the letter from the Thamesford Trojans be received and filed, and that the letter be sent to Trojans informing them that A, policy number 700-06 recreation fee waiver and reduction does not apply to ice rental. B, Thamesford Trojans are eligible to apply to the township for a community grant under policy number 500-06, and that if the Trojans apply for a community grant, staff prepare a report on financial support given to other teams in the YEC division of PJHL by their municipalities. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And I would I would encourage the Trojans and members of council to have some dialogue before those things happen, so that everybody can be maximally informed as to what everybody wants and actually move this forward to something constructive. So next up then is 8.6 Corporate Service Department A, report 2022-134 from the Corporate Services Intern regarding a summer project update. Maggie, what would you like to highlight in that report?
I think I'll just leave it to the council for the question.
Questions from council on that report?
I don't have a question, just a comment, and it actually applies to both this report and the other summer student position. It's amazing popping into the office and doing a couple of things, or at a council meeting and seeing these, summer student positions. Where, my perspective has always been, wow, they're really learning a lot from our staff, like they're helping, but they're really learning a lot. It's incredibly helpful to read these detailed reports that they have prepared. Not only thinking about the wonderful mentorship and development that's allowing for them in their professional development, but also just recognizing the significant amount of work that is being done for, in assistance of our staff and on behalf of residents of Zorra. So I have told Maggie probably more times than what's comfortable for her to hear how valuable she has been. And she was with us last summer. She was here very part-time through her school year. It was really great to have her back. And she's, she has higher education that she's pursuing, and she's going to definitely be missed around here, because every week that passes, it's like she just keeps stepping it up. And so thank you very much for informing council and the public, not only the work that we've seen you doing, but all of the things that have been going on behind the scenes that have been instrumental in supporting council and over here. Thank you.
Anyone else? In the same vein, I want to talk about a problem that we don't have. I just came back from the AMO conference in Ottawa, and obviously the number one topic of conversation was municipal elections. But the number two topic of conversation, especially amongst mayors, was absolutely pervasive anxiety about their senior management teams, CAOs, directors of corporate services, clerks departments in particular. Absolute anxiety amongst all of them. What are they going to do? While I was there talking to people, they said, "Oh, our CAO just resigned." It literally happened in front of me. And I had to say, we literally do not have that problem in Zorra Township. It's just not a problem that we have. I think we need to remind ourselves that there's reasons that we don't have that, right? That it's not a fluke, it's not luck, right? It's because of good council staff relations over the years. It's because of the culture that Don has created. We literally have people lined up for this, right? If anything, my anxiety is how are all the people going to have fulfilled careers, and how do we keep them for as long as possible, right? Rest work week, I'll just remind you. But which was probably the third topic of conversation in April that I heard about anyway, it was other people. But I think we need to remind ourselves that sometimes you don't have a problem, and it is because you have done things that make you not have that. And that is the luxury, the absolute luxury that we have right now. And it's because of positions like this and people like this moving through, being developed by the staff that we have, that we're not worried about that. Right? We spend as a council almost no time talking about that. And I can tell you categorically, there are other councils who spend exorbitant amounts of time in closed sessions talking about what's our SMT structure going to be like? What's our succession plan like? How are we going to recruit? What are we going to pay? They spend a lot of time on that. And when they're doing that, they are not working on how to move things forward for their community. We have the luxury of being able to talk about all these things to move our community forward because we have the staff. So I say that all to say, I think we need to continue to entertain these options like this to help us grow these people for Maggie and Emma, but also quite selfishly on behalf of the people of Zorra, because we are able to get more done for them because of these people here doing this. So thanks. Is there anything else for Maggie on that report? Moved by Mitchell, second by McDonald, that report 2022-134 from the Corporate Services Intern be received and filed for information purposes only. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And 8.6B, report 2022-124 from the Legislative Coordinator Deputy Clerk regarding these bylaw amendments. Alicia, is there anything you want to highlight in that?
Nope, I'll just leave it for caution.
Questions from council? Moved by McDonald, second. Do
No questions, just comments.
you want me to read the motion first or not?
Sure, go ahead.
It's comments strictly.
Yep.
Moved by McDonald, second by Mitchell, that report 2022-124 from the Legislative Coordinator Deputy Clerk be received and filed, and that the council approved these bylaw amendments proposed in report 2022-124. Anybody wish to speak to this? Paul?
Yeah, we're going to set fees, and we face the same issue at the board. The upper Thames is you're three things you're looking at. Increased cost of providing service, and from most of the service we provide, the cost is labor, and our labor cost is tied with inflation, which is running almost 80%. So we have to make sure that we keep that balance of user pay in keep that working right. Second point is we need to be comparable with nearby municipalities. We don't want to price ourselves out of providing the services, or we don't want to undercut anybody else. And the third reason is to promote facility use, because we have the overhead and capital costs of these facilities, whether they're being used or not. And if we can have a fee schedule that promotes usage, especially in the areas where there's low usage, that's something we need to look at. I think the baseline increase of these fees about 2% is well below rate of inflation. It gives good value to people that are using our facilities and are using the various services that are included in here. And the other point is that we haven't had an increase in these fees since 2019 because COVID has interrupted our service delivery opportunities. I just a few comments why I support the bylaw and the fees that have been included in.
Anyone else? Moved by McDonald, seconded by Mitchell, that report 2022-124 from the Legislative Coordinator Deputy Clerk be received and filed, and that council approved these bylaw amendments proposed in report 2022-124. All in favor? Opposed? That is clear. Thanks, Alicia. And 8.6C, report 2022-137 from the Chief Administrative Officer regarding Zorra Municipal Center childcare request for expression of interest. Is there anything you want to highlight in that?
No.
Questions from council? Moved by Mitchell, seconded by Greg, that report 2022-137 from the CAO regarding the Zorra Municipal Center be received and filed, and that the town of Zorra awards the contract to build the ZMC consisting of municipal offices and a childcare facility to Paul Sam Construction in the amount of $5,670,500, and that an additional amount of up to $200,000 be allocated for installation of rooftop solar panels at the time of construction. And then after 1 full year of operation of the ZMC, a report on the electricity usage and generation be prepared for council, and that staff prepare a report on possible debenture and internal funding options for the September 7th, 2022 council meeting. And that staff prepare a report that outlines the recreational storage needs that are not being addressed with the ZMC and include estimates for potential solutions to rectify this deficiency. Paul, as a mover, do you want to speak to that?
At the August 14th special meeting, I spoke for exactly 16 minutes and 10 seconds. For all the reasons that I felt that we should or should not build the ZMC. And I appreciate that Marcus and the rest of the council allows me to make all my points, because on occasion I do get a little long-winded and don't fit my arguments into the time that I'm supposed to. That's one of the advantages of having a small council, but I do it for some reasons. First of all, I do it because sometimes I'm trying to make the rest of council see the light and agree with what I want done. Secondly, I usually do it because I like to get some feedback, whether negative or positive, from the rest of council. because I think that leads to better debate and better decision. And I always do it because I think we as members of council have a responsibility to explain why we are voting yes or no on an issue. It says right in our strategic plan that we value transparency. And I think that's especially important when we're talking about a multi-million-dollar project that we've been working on for more than a year with numerous reports, numerous options, numerous discussions at both open and closed meetings on how to get this done. And now that we have live stream when it works and YouTube, we have the opportunity to be very transparent so that anybody that cares can see exactly what the process has been to move forward with this project. The last meeting has had 95 views, so hopefully that's 95 people out there that have a better understanding of the work that staff and the council have done over the last year to move this project forward. As far as the motion itself, no need to repeat the points that I made 2 weeks ago. I think I made it pretty clear why I went from a Letterkenny hard no when this first came forward to a point where I made this motion today. The pros far outweigh the cons on this project. Personally, I would prefer that we delay the installation of the solar panels till 2028 when we have a 50% reduction in our loan payments. But the proposal to put up up to $200,000 worth of solar panels now and reevaluate it makes sense for two reasons. First of all, it reduces the construction cost and the debt load on this project by $150,000. But more importantly, we're really only guessing, educated guesses of how much electricity this building is going to require. And if there's one thing that we've learned from the ZMF project and the green component to it, is that even the experts' estimations can be far off what as we get further into it. So there is no incentive for us to produce more than 100% of the electricity needed for this building, because I went back and I looked at the presentation from the solar panel people from the ZMF, and this is net metering. So if we produce more than 100%, we will get a credit. But at the end of 12 months, that credit was back to zero. So if we spend more money than we need for infrastructure on these solar panels, and we're producing 110% or 120% of what we need, we'll get zero return on that investment. The only way we can figure out exactly how much solar panel or generation infrastructure we need is to run this building for a year, find out how much it needs, how much we're generating, and then we can fine tune it after that. The last, or the item on there about financing options refers to the last paragraph in Don's report, that there's some flexibility in there and how we debenture this and how much out of reserves we can take to finance it. The last line about recreation, I'll leave for Katie. That was her concern. So she can explain it better than me, but I just want to wrap up, and it's less than 16 minutes. So I'm going to wrap up. I want to thank Don for all the work that he's done and the other staff. He saw an opportunity. At first, I thought the timing for this opportunity wasn't so great, but over the course of the years, he has convinced me that this is an opportunity we need to seize, and we should move forward with this project.
Katie is the secretary. I want to speak to it.
No fights today.
Yet.
So I'm not going to speak to any of the earlier parts of the motion, because I agree with everything that Paul just spoke to there. I'm on board. The last little piece I added, and my concern was that in the available revenue sourcing for this project, part of it is the sale of the fire hall, which is in progress now. And so that facility acted as storage for recreation department. And this project was going to provide a new location for that storage to take place when we were first looking at the fabrication shop. We did have some storage opportunities when we were looking at the new build. We had discussed that that's not the right location for it. It has been removed from the proposal. So I just wanted to make sure that moving forward, we are going to have a question of what are our storage needs? And then how are we going to fund it? And because part of this revenue stream has come from the sale of the previous solution to that problem, we've now created a problem. I want to make sure that we have an opportunity to have that funding available to solve that problem. And that's not left out of the scope of our decision making. But that doesn't have an impact on the ability to proceed with going forward with Paulson construction, getting this thing going. And I just wanted to have that sectioned out, the ability for council to section that out if need be, so that when we're looking at our financing, we have a clear idea of exactly what we're financing and what that's going to, and not having a report come forward in the future that's going to make it really difficult for council to fund a recreation storage project that could be significant.
Anybody else want to speak to this? I agree with everything you said, especially your 16 minutes in the last. So I think the ground has been covered, but I would just, for the record, say that I absolutely agree that this is the right thing to do. You know, of course, I would rather wait too and do it when we have more dementia rate. But the only thing worse than that is to miss this opportunity, right? This piece of property, this grant opportunity. This is the right thing to do. This is going to be the cheapest thing for our residents in the long run. It's going to address the overcrowding of our staff. It's going to address accessibility issues, future-proof us, moves us towards our 100% renewable energy commitment. All the commitments that this council and previous councils have made, this moves us toward us in the most financially responsible way that's available to us. And as you pointed out, we explored a lot of ways to do it. So I'm very supportive of it. I will read it again and call the question. Moved by Mitchell, seconded by Greg, that report 2022-137 from the CAO regarding the Zorra Municipal Center be received and filed, and the Township of Zorra awards the contract to build the ZMC consisting of municipal offices and a childcare facility to Paulson and Construction in the amount of $5,670,500, and then an additional amount of up to $200,000 be allocated for installation of rooftop solar panels at the time of construction. And then after 1 full year of operation of the ZMC, a report on the electricity usage and generation be prepared for council. And then staff prepare a report on possible debenture and internal funding options for the September 7th, 2022 council meeting. And then staff prepare a report that outlines the recreational storage needs that are not being addressed with the ZMC and include estimates for potential solutions to rectify this deficiency. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And 8.6D. Report 2022-138 from the Chief Administrative Officer regarding solar panel component of Zorra maintenance facility. Dawn, is there anything you want to highlight in that report?
No, I'm not sure if Steve has any comments on that or not.
Steve?
No, yeah.
Questions from council? I have a motion then moved by Mitchell, seconded by Greg, that report 2022-138 from the CAO be received and filed. And that the Township of Zorra proceeds with option number 1 in the report regarding installation of solar panels and DC cables on the roof of the Zorra maintenance facilities ZMF, and that after 1 full year of operation of the ZMF, a report on electricity usage and generation be prepared for council. Paul, as the mover, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, just the same reasons I just said about the ZMC, that there's no incentive to go to 100% until we know what 100% is. And we should proceed basically with the decision that we made earlier to install what it turns out to be 980 modules and operate it for a year. Then we know what we need, know what we're generating, and we can fine tune it from there. I think that's the financially and the operational best way to go.
Katie is the secretary. You want to speak to that? Anyone else? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Decisions today. almost like it's her job. 9, correspondence regarding direction. 9A, noise exemption application from Trumpet of Truth. And I just want to confirm, I don't think there's anybody attending in person, or online, no. So I have then, well, before I read the motion, are there any questions for staff on this application? Moved by McDonald, seconded by Mitchell, that the town of Zorra Council approve the application for exemption to the noise control bylaw submitted by Trumpet of Truth for an event held on September 18th, 2022, and that the Trumpet of Truth distribute and inform the handout with the event information to all surrounding neighbors by September 4th, 2022. Maybe you want to speak to that?
Do you have a definition of neighbors? Like, is it adjoining properties, is it miles, is it circumference?
Great question, Mom. For this, we do adjoining neighbors.
Adjoining would mean adjoining properties across the road.
So we usually deal situationally, if we don't provide a map for them, but usually they give it to more than this, what we find is necessary. But they can do across the road and then adjoining from all sides of the property.
Okay.
Anyone else? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. I'm like that, carried or passed, or failed.
We're done before day.
And 10, boards and committees. So I have one here to do to receive and file A to B and a separate one for C. Does anybody want to pull any of the others out or anything? Anybody have any questions for staff on any of those before I? Katie.
For those who may watch this after it's posted on YouTube, I'll just pull from the ZMC, sorry. Zorra Multi-Use Course Committee, ZMCC agenda that currently there's a fundraiser selling cinnamon. And the sales are due by the 28th of August from Multi-Use Course Committee members. And the pickup date for that will be the Friday back to school at the meeting room from 4 to 7. So there's more information available online. It's not specific in the agenda, but it was on the agenda, so I just wanted to pull that in. In case anyone's hungry for cinnamon.
Anyone else? Questions on these? So then for 10A and B, I have moved by Mitchell, seconded by McDonald, that items 10A through B be received and filed for information purposes only. Anybody want to speak to either of those? All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And for 10C, I have moved by Greg, seconded by Forbes, that council receive and file a TVDSB 2022 accommodation plan, and that council direct staff to request a meeting with TVDSB chair and director to discuss the 2023 capital priorities item of Thamesford Public School addition, including the potential for exploring a co-build. Anybody want to speak to that? Okay.
So this is a lengthy document of our boards and committees. And some of it I've been following along more closely in between this showing up on the agenda. There had been some discussion from the board that in addition would be applied for Thamesford Public School in the near future. And sure enough, it's showing in this report that it is slated for 2023. This does not guarantee a successful application. It's just a acknowledgement of a deficiency in that school that the board is looking to resolve. It has been a significant concern amongst Thamesford residents as we're expanding. The main concern with the expansion of development in Thamesford has been, but what about our schools? So I think there's an opportunity here. The school board is looking to do some strategic planning. And that's something that I think we have a lot of experience in, something that we do on a regular basis, and there could be some opportunities to better integrate how we run our municipalities and then how we plan for the schools that exist within them. So this is just asking for a meeting, very preliminary. We do have some aging, buildings that we may need to look at in the next 5 to 10 years, our arena structure. So before we start spending, and I don't want to start talking about spending more money, as we're just, by deciding on ZNC, but as we are looking to the future and planning for those replacements, are there potential opportunities for cost savings by potentially doing this in a collaboration? If that's possible, those conversations are gonna have to start sooner than later, so that's all I'm looking for, just very preliminary discussions to explore potential.
Anybody else? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. This is like one of those old ones that always throws me off. All the things are in like different spots, like double-sided. So 11 then, information items. So what I have in front of me then is a motion to receive and file A through F. So just before I do that, does anybody want to pull any of those out separate from the rest? Okay.
I just had a question for you, Marcus, about the Oxford County Council resolution regarding training and crisis support.
Yeah.
So I didn't watch it back to see what the discussion was, but part of the resolution was that Oxford County's local municipal council will be requested to support the promotion of a common web portal, which once released will accept expressions of interest for working and training families. Is there something formal that is being asked about in terms of support, or just that once it goes out, once a web portal is released, that we will then promote it through our social media and website?
Yes.
So there's no formal.
That's all. They just want us to use our channels, our voice to promote this so that people who are willing or tempted even to participate will find out about it. They essentially what they want is to throw as wide a net as possible in Oxford, get as many people to know, and they're just asking us to use our channels to add to that.
So does staff need any endorsement from council, or that's perfect? Okay, just want to make sure we were.
I will add, it was quite an emotional delegation at county council because the organizations that are doing it made their presentation and asked for this. And there was a woman standing at the back who I thought I recognized because when I went to the first meeting of this organization, which is actually headed up by 2 Zorra residents in Thamesford, when I went to the first meeting of it in Woodstock, there was a video from Poland of this woman who had left Ukraine. And here she was in county council chambers. Now, whatever number of months later that was. So that was a pretty powerful testament to that these people are actually getting it done. When we went to the meeting, they had made the connection, they were trying to get her here, they were trying to work out all, as you well know, all the things involved making that happen. And then they came to ask county for this, and she was standing in the room. So, pretty powerful evidence-based decision making there. Ron.
Just to add to this whole discussion on the Ukrainian thing, there is a large need for host families, and which this motion is directed to. The next step of that is they're not intended to be living with host families for the entire time they're here, and there is a real need for housing. And unfortunately, because they are coming, they've left everything behind, they're taking jobs that are maybe not in their fields, and they're working for low wages. So they need rental properties that are reasonable rents, whatever any of us describe as reasonable at the moment, but and there is large need. And as we're at that stage now with a family that's living with us, we're trying to find them more permanent accommodations, and price is an indicator that the stuff is scarce, and it is scarce. So anybody knows of a house anywhere in Oxford County, Middlesex County. Those are the two groups that we work with, and there's a real need for more permanent housing. There's a need for hosts, and then the second step to that is the need for actual accommodations, and they're all hard to find.
Anyone else? Can I just say I'm surprised that nobody wanted to pull out correspondence from Minister Steve Parker regarding strong mayors building homes act? All?
I think we already have a strong mayor, and there's no need to change the.
Absolutely. I mean, this was a real topic at the conference as well. I think what's getting the headlines right now in Toronto and Ottawa, but my understanding is that the legislation will extend it to all councils, but then it will only be enacted through regulation, and at first it will be Toronto and Ottawa, then other large urbans, but ultimately could, and I would say inevitably will be extended to all. I don't understand how they can do Toronto and Ottawa, but then Waterloo saying, you know, why not us? And once that, then it's on to everyone. So I've been very public about this, and whether it's today or in the future, I would really encourage council to think about, you know, what their position is on this. I think it's, in my opinion, it's worth this council taking a position on. Anyway, moved by McDonald, second by Mitchell, that items 11A through F be received and filed for information purposes only. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And 12, unfinished business. We're at 12:03 now. What do you guys want to do? We just keep barreling on here, I think. Good. Yeah. Keep going. Unfinished business 12A, report 2022-049 from the Director of Corporate Services regarding declared surplus 21st line rural allowance. Karen, is there anything you want to say to that? Any questions from council on that?
Well, if there's no new information, then my stance is the same, that I don't think we should be selling this property, but we should keep it for future use.
So I mean, I can bring I guess informally, not in the form of a report, but some new information. I talked to the County Director of Public Works about it, and he copied my question onto planning as well, and they both agreed that in their opinion at this time they did not foresee any reason to extend that. They felt the cost of extending a bridge over it would be prohibitive, and they didn't foresee it in the future in any way.
Yeah, that's sounds to me like I don't want to be critical of our planning department, but I think that the vicinity of the town, the growth in the town, to say that it's prohibitive to build a bridge is certainly not the right answer. There will be a bridge built in this village some point in the next 20 years, I'm sure of.
Anyone else? Moved by Griggs, seconded by Mitchell, that council pass a resolution to receive report 2022-049 regarding the 21st line unopened road allowance, and that council approved that the property described as 21st line road allowance between section 10 and section 11 East Exeter in 0019904770 be declared as surplus to the needs of the county of Zorra, and that council direct staff to provide the necessary public notice to prepare the necessary bylaws. Does anybody wish to speak to that? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And 13, notices of motion. Notice of motion regarding Zorra Park playground retrofit plans. Moved by Griggs, seconded by Mitchell, that staff prepare a report outlining the parks playground retrofit plans as referenced in the 5-year capital budget with locations and amounts as specified to include what changes will be included. And that the report include any future plans for the other 2 of 6 playgrounds not identified in the budget, and any additional existing services and features that will be due for upgrade or replacement in the next 5 to 10 years, and that potential grant opportunity be identified to assist with costs associated with changes or the potential for community fundraising efforts, and that this report come back to council ahead of the first draft capital budget. Katie is the mover. You want to speak to that?
I'm gonna keep this well under 16 minutes, but this is something that was brewing for some time. When I'm looking at, so first of all, there's a lot of public feedback when it comes to our playground equipment. People who use the parks have all sorts of ideas about how they're changed, when they're changed, what they can possibly be. And we're always looking for engagement from our residents, so that's positive. But in looking at ahead to budgeting times, we have specified amounts and locations in our budget. But unlike something like our roads plans, we don't have sort of a guidance document that outlines what those needs are and what the scope of work is. So early in this term of council, we had a road need study done, and then we had a road replacement plan endorsed by council, provided by staff. Where we know, the plan is to replace this road this year with, pulverized and 2 litres of asphalt, or exactly what that work looks like. And so what my thought was is that just sort of applying a bit of a similar but scale back approach when it comes to our playgrounds. And this report would then provide council an opportunity to be better informed when it comes to budget times. If we think that those budget amounts need to be altered, it provides staff an opportunity to get updated, revised costing on what that playground replacement would look like, and see if those amounts are still accurately budgeted for. And it might also provide the public an opportunity where the plans are not driving with what they envision for it, that we do have alternate methods of replacing or creating new capital infrastructure where we could do a fundraising component, or we going through different grants that are available for some different types of parks. There's a lot of really exciting things happening in playgrounds in other municipalities. And I think this is a good opportunity for us to sort of pause, assess what the plan is, have a little bit more discussion around it, and the possibility of engaging the more public.
All the seconds.
As a councillor that doesn't have any township playgrounds in my ward, I know very little about the pros and cons of different designs and whatnot, other than when I'm trolling social media and I hear the complaints about playgrounds. I'm completely in agreement with what Katie said, that one of the things I'm most proud of that we did really early was develop the road plan. And what that does is when somebody says to you, what are you doing about my road? You can look at the plan and say, okay, in 2024, we're going to do something, or 2027, whatever. And what people want to know is not necessarily what you're going to do, but where it is on the radar. And if you can answer that question for them, then that gets a lot of this discontent that's out there on different infrastructure things. So as Katie said, it worked for roads, it shouldn't work for playgrounds. And when we're looking at budgets, we'll have a much better idea of where this money's being spent, how it's being spent. And I think it's just another step in our planning that we should do.
Anyone else? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Home stretch now. Bylaws. Moved by Mitchell, seconded by McDonald, the bylaws 52-22, 3-22, 54-22, 55-22, 56-22, 57-22 be taken for the first, second, and third time and finally passed. And further, the mayor and clerk are hereby authorized to sign the same and affix the corporate seal there too. All those in favor? That's great. And items of community interest in the calendar. So there is an Oxford Rural Entrepreneurs event on tomorrow night. I don't know where that one is now, but that's on open to the public. And certainly, I think you guys all get the invites for those. So yeah, we don't. Oxford Rural Oxford Economic Development Corporation does them. They're called Oxford Rural Entrepreneurs events. They move around all over the county. And I don't know what there's on morning somewhere to my calendar here. I'll find out and I'll send it to you. I'm sorry about that. I just assumed you all got those. There's a big mailing list. I didn't go through to hunt it out, but. Anyway, okay. And then this Saturday, there's a skate park fun day at the Thamesford skate park, correct, Matt? It's 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, I think. I believe so. Okay. And then splash pad opening on Wednesday the 24th.
Beach Ball Museum barbecue on Friday.
Oh, 26th. Yeah, what time is that at, Ron?
5 p.m.
5 there, certain food. 5 to 7, and then meeting night. That's sponsored by so West Oxford. They're engaged in informed committee.
Yeah. Oh,
Upper Thames meeting next Tuesday, the 23rd.
23rd. Okay. And then, oh, go ahead.
Something I'm attending tomorrow is first time in 2.5 years I get to go into the Upper Thames headquarters. And they're doing a presentation on the turtle program. And
I'm gonna write
they've
here.
got between 80 and 100 people who responded, so they're going to give a presentation and break us out into groups, and we get to go into the turtle lab. Apparently, they have about 10,000 turtle eggs that they're incubating at the time. So I'm turning it into a date with my wife because turtles.
This is tomorrow.
This is tomorrow. Great. I will report on the turtles on our next opportunity. Yeah.
Chief.
The Belgian barbecue is September 8th, I believe, and I've got tickets if anyone's interested. And in September, there'll be an open house for entering into recruitment season. No date set yet. We'll discuss the chief's meeting, but stay tuned if you're able to attend in September.
Please let us know.
Evening.
Okay. Katie.
Saturday, August 27th is the ZMCC volleyball tournament. Last I had heard, there was still one space open for a team that may or may not have been filled, but if you have a team and you're looking to participate, reach out to Julie Riley, or any member of the Zorra Courts Committee.
Anything else? I'm gonna be away from the 27th to the whatever, second or third or whatever, so you're up. Okay, okay. I think that's it for calendar. You got anything else that I missed? Aaron?
For calendar, I will just mention that nominations for the upcoming municipal election close at 2 o'clock on Friday. And we'll be certified shortly after that. And I also just wanted to really quickly introduce Nicole, our new building services coordinator, to council. We kind of threw her in to the wolves, and she's been doing amazing for the last couple of weeks. So really thankful to have her as part of our team. She's been doing great.
So welcome. In my observation, I mean, when I met you, I didn't realize it literally started like 5 minutes before I met you. I had been away and I sort of assumed, I've just been here for a week. But anyway, you fit in like you've been here for a week on day one. So thank you and welcome. And well, I know you watched a little bit of the council meeting this morning. I think you can see that, like, well, we take our business seriously. We're not a terribly harsh bunch. So anyway, welcome. And I think that's it then on our community interest. You got anything else? All good. Confirmatory. Moved by McDonald, seconded by Mitchell, that bylaw 58-22 being a bylaw confirmed the proceedings of council held August 17th, 2022 be read a first, second, and third time this August 17th, 2022, and further that the mayor and clerk were hereby authorized to sign the same and affix the corporate seal thereto. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And moved by Mitchell, seconded by McDonald, that this session of council be now adjourned and hereby closed at 12:15 p.m. And the next meeting of council will be called for September 7th, 2022 at 9 a.m. in council chambers of the Township Municipal Office. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried, and we are adjourned. You listen over our off, Megan. Thank you.